I'm super excited to be here. I was actually hoping to make it to the Vancouver one and wasn't able to. I think this sort of room, getting this collaboration of people across product and ops and marketing, people that align with growth, is pretty powerful. I think we can all pretty much say that in the next couple years, this will be what a lot of future conferences are. Things are coming together, they're merging. The way that I have seen this most impacted in my role is how it relates to brand. And so I'm going to talk a little bit today about some things I've seen. Porch is my 7th startup. We are one of the fastest growing startups in Seattle's history. We're having a really great time. We're solving some really hard problems. And through it, I was really brought in to handle the brand side of things. I'm a paid marketer by trade, so I started in PPC. I moved on to SEO. I got excited about LPO. I'm just going to throw all the letters, and then CRO. And then I got excited about retention and loyalty. And here I find myself, north of a decade into my career, jazzed about brand. So I'm going to hopefully pull us through here. Things have changed significantly when you think about brand. How many of you align closest to a marketer? Wow, okay, you're all like, no, I'm growth. How many of you are in some way responsible for the brand at the companies or startups that you touch? It is a bullet that has been added to many of our job descriptions unknowingly. This statistic is pretty crazy if you think about it, which is 429 of the original Fortune 500 are no longer in business. This doesn't mean that those titans have pivoted or changed course. It literally actually means that they've dissolved. And if you think about the economies that were built around them, the amount of fundraising that went into them, the number of people that were built into those teams and those operations, to think that they're gone is kind of crazy. That's not that long of a time. What's more surprising is the number of brands that have quickly surpassed them, leapfrogged, right? And in the sense of this conference and what we're all excited to is how did they build so fast? How did they find a way to leapfrog really well-funded, highly intelligent competitors? There has been an evolution of what brand means. I think a lot of people, and maybe even people, unfortunately, that we still work with, think of it as the trademark sense of the 19th century, that concept of what is known today as brand identity, this element that there's a logo and you own something. It then evolved into this concept of the brand, and you could actually say that a lot of the companies that are no longer in business probably didn't make a paradigm shift from the brand to our brand or a brand fast enough. The brand was something that was over there. It's something you dealt with once a year. It's something one team owned. It's not something you improved or invested in. It was something that was built if you did all the other things well. Where we live today, where the best brands are living today, is brands. I have up Jen Joyce, who runs the Uber community in Seattle. We knew her before we knew Uber. Everyone knows her. She's everywhere. She is Uber to us. And because of that, it is the product, it's the marketing, it's the experience, it's the customer, it's the community, it's social, it's every element that is that to us. And so when you think about the way that that's come together and the way that ops and product and marketing and development has come together for growth, I just see a lot of parallels. And the companies that have been able to do that really well are seeing the types of growth that we're talking about today. Porch is doing really well. We're having a great run. It's not something that happened organically. We have activated every single one of these numbers. In less than 2 years, we have focused on every single one of these metrics. To a lot of what we've heard today, we've actually applied pressure. We've invested in teams. We've gone cross-functional. And what we are seeing is every time we crack something, every time we activate something, we move on. What I think is impressive about Porch, and one of the reasons I was excited about it, is we did the same thing with brand. I was brought in earlier than you would think would make sense. I've built a team that's cross-functional. We're a shared service across all 3 businesses that is responsible for growing the brand. And it comes with funding, and it comes with resources, and I have a dev queue, and I have, my access to Jira. Like, it's a real thing. It's not something that we said, let's go build all these other things, let's go find traction, and then go build a brand. It happens simultaneously. And I think that a lot of brands are starting to do that, and a lot of startups are thinking about it sooner and front-loading that conversation, and I think it's an advantage. What makes a great brand? You guys have seen a lot of models in the last couple slides, but this is what makes a great brand. It's no more complicated than that. You have to have a great product, you have to have a great team, and you have to have a great community around it. The power of word of mouth, that is what starts our original virality and K factors and inclines. So you have to have these three things. Nothing I'm going to talk about matters at all if you don't have these three things. But once you have these three things, you have the beginnings, the foundations of a great brand. I'm awful at these. But what makes it stand out is the harder part. I think a lot of us think to ourselves, it takes a lot of money. It takes a lot of out-of-home budget. It takes a brand team, possibly an external agency. It just takes a lot of things that startups don't have. I think that was true not too long ago. I think it's a falsity now, and we can actually see this if you map out the top tech ecosystems around the nation or even globally, and you look at their board leaders. A lot of them don't have big budgets, and they're not on their latest rounds of funding, and they have built really huge brands. And I think that's what most fascinates me. What are the patterns? What are the habits? What are the types of activation strategies they've done around their brand to give it momentum and accelerate it? You know, this is a great quote for those of you that follow the Millward Brown every year. I certainly do. Driven by ever more demanding customers, pushed by emerging market competitors, inspired by companies like Apple, many businesses are rediscovering the power of creativity and design, increasing investment in innovation, and trying to better understand how brands drive their business. So one of the reasons why I think many of us will be the leaders of the brands at the companies we work at is because we're the data-driven people, and only those people will be put in charge of brands moving forward. It will be the intersection of creativity and the ability to track and measure and test, and that is what is building really great brands today. I don't have a conversation. I mean, I'm a very emotional person. Like, I would bear hug the whole room. I do find myself more on the creative side of marketing, but every conversation I lead with data and insights, I consider the brand an asset. Hopefully, if I do my job well, and you know, a unstoppable asset, one that can't be repeated, a displaceable asset. So we'll see, right? How do they do it? A lot of things. My thing is like, the first one is really rethinking the responsibility of a brand. So many of us in the room think of our job as marketers to sell a product. We think of it as, how can we make sure that the product is aligned with our cultural values? And I think it's a lot more than that. You have to now, today, present a value exchange that is beyond the product. So if you're only spending all of your dollars and all of your time iterating and trying to find traction on just driving people to the product, you're actually a step behind. You have to be doing that in conjunction with your brand and what you stand for as a company. A great company that does this is Patagonia. They've been growing up and to the right in a highly competitive space for a very long time. And how do they do that? You look at their company, they certainly have an excellent retail presence. They have a strong e-commerce platform. But when you look at what else they sell, right? They have the Footprint Chronicles, which is given top nav real estate, where you can go and understand their carbon footprint. They've got the Worn Wear initiative, where outdoor enthusiasts can exchange outdoor clothing with other outdoor enthusiasts, which creates and fosters a community that they're participating in, but more than anything else, they're just amplifying it. They're just making it possible. And then they have their 1% for the Planet initiative. At this point, if you've bought one piece of clothing from Patagonia, you really are starting to buy into a cultural responsibility, both for the environment, for other outdoor enthusiasts, for people like you. It's going to be really hard to pull away from that brand. Even if that brand goes through periods of time where they're trying to figure out what their actual clothing or product offering is, you have actually convinced them that you will stick through it. And so the brand is bigger than the product. It's so much more. It's that sort of reframe that if you spend your marketing dollars on, if you activate your marketing teams around, if you staff for that sort of cause marketing, you could actually win. In fact, some of the better brands out there, a lot that we've talked about today, have invested in cause marketing early. They've aligned themselves with something bigger than themselves, therefore giving themselves a triangulation of respect in their ecosystem. You also need to create a rally point worthy of their time. We are in a very noisy ecosystem. No one can stand out. You can't catch anyone's attention for very long. Squirrel syndrome is everywhere. But if you create a rally point that they truly align with, they can't step away. And I think that that is really special. And in fact, I think some of the brands represented today are the brands I would point to as those brands. LinkedIn, Facebook, I had Slack up there, huge fan. These are rally points that even if I didn't use their product, even if I don't know if they can serve me, I will stand behind it. I love the idea of simplifying and growing every day, of giving people the power to share, of being less busy, right? like glorifying busyness. Let's just stop, This is my 7th startup. I'm exhausted. Like, I think these are the sorts of things where I can look at this and say, I'm not quite sure what they do, but I know they're doing some cool stuff, and it seems like a great team, so you should try them. I just word of mouthed them, and I never even used the product. So these are things that we can activate. These are actually things that we can build stories around, that we can build campaigns around, that we can market on the behalf of our companies. I think we need to take, the concept of why we wake up every morning, understanding the why, Simon Sinek's golden circle theory that we all know so well, and put it at the heart of our marketing. I think that is more of what we should spend our time on. I spend very little of my team or my team's time marketing our products, and very much marketing the reason that Porch is in business. And it's working. Every day, we have this saying, we're a marketplace for homeowners and home professionals. We're an incredibly competitive space, an incredibly well-funded space. How can we help homeowners love their homes? And how can we put professionals in a better place? We empower our team to think about that to the point that sometimes it's not even ROI positive, and that's okay as long as we're learning something. So I say to my account management team, if you're on the phone with a professional and they're really upset and you need to talk to them for an hour, 2 hours, go for it. If you're talking to a homeowner and they're gonna walk you through all the pain of their latest remodel, that does not seem like an effective use of our time, certainly isn't ROI positive when you look at our COGS. Doesn't matter, go for it. Because the insight you're gonna give us and the connection you're gonna make is important. And so you have to start investing in what I would call kind of those unscalable moments of delight. You have to do that early. And then you start to see stuff like this, like people on the team just tweeting out how much they love helping on this mission. Like I'm not marketing those messages, they're marketing those messages, and then our customers are marketing those messages. And all of a sudden, it really is that beautiful organic flywheel that we're all after. But it was seeded intentionally. I gave them a rally point. I didn't just put it on the wall. It's at our Around the Porch every Friday. It's on t-shirts. It's represented in every meeting. It's in every update. It's reflected back onto them at every event. Like, I had to invest in this. I had to give them a rally point to do this. And so thinking through that is a really valuable thing. The last one is empowering your consumers. So we all know this to be the case. We know that they now have the right to shut us off. We certainly now know that they all have the right to tell us they never want to talk to us again. It's in their pocket. I think when you think about the future, I don't look at myself as actually marketing at or even marketing with. I mean, I want to think I'm marketing with, but if anything, I'm getting out of their way. I'm just amplifying their stories for them. I've become a facilitator of their user stories and their voice of the customer, and that's become our marketing in many ways. We know the concept of permission marketing. The last bolded sentence is the important part. They will grant us the right. And the second they choose to take that right away, we won't be able to get it back. It's too noisy, it's too loud, it's too expensive to get it back. And so we should take that responsibility seriously. A great company that does this, Beta Brand. How many of you have heard of Beta Brand in the room? Some, many. They've done something really special. I've never seen a company so wholeheartedly commit to handing the keys over to the customer. You go to their website, at this point they really are a retail company that crowdsource every product that gets listed and every product that gets built. They have voting on site, the think tank on site, the crowdfunding on site. You can go and have comments and exchange with the actual designers of the clothing. You can ask them questions, you can make recommendations. This last part is probably one of the better campaigns I've ever seen, and this was a stake in the ground they put in really early, which was the Model Citizen campaign, which is they will never shoot a model. They will only take UGC photos of people wearing their clothes, and they will untouched and unphotoshopped put that at the heart of their marketing. So every image, and now at this point, any big banner you see, any cover photo of any of their social accounts, every emailer you receive from them is an actual customer, unphotoshopped. Talk about handing it over to your customers, talking about letting them be the brand. That's really hard for a lot of marketers because we like to have the control. We like to create and build. And at this point, if you aren't finding a way to take all of the data and insights that you guys are collecting in your tests and help do it in a way that is with the customer, you're going to be behind your competitor. You just can't keep up. And so, at this point, they've stood up a community that's pretty hard to beat. They've had amazing growth in such a short amount of time, but even more so, it's that, to the point, the MBS, the promoters, the ambassadors that just can't be touched. And it's given them the freedom to explore a lot of different monetization strategies at their company. And so really, when I think about this, I just want to bring it full circle. a lot has changed. Like, as a marketer, if you had told me I would be standing up here telling you that you have to invest in brand early and you have to think how to operationalize it across your company and how everyone on your marketing team and other teams just got brand added to their job description, I would have laughed at you. But you see it working. If you can take everything you learned in the last couple days and think about how can I be an ambassador of intelligent investment, intelligent testing, intelligent cross-company conversation around brand, you are going to have a business advantage in your competitive markets. I also think that there's an element of doing it better than it's ever been done before. I think the responsibility on brands today is heavier than it was. If you do it wrong, more people know. There's the downside of growth. It has its own viral K factor. You can't stop it from happening. And so if you look at the responsibility of that and just say to yourself, I believe in growth. I mean, many of you obviously believe in growth. That really is just a way for us to say we want to have an impact with our jobs and what we do. And this is a really great way to share that. You can have an impact by building a really great brand that people believe in. So hopefully this was helpful. If you guys have questions, I'm just at Joanna Lord on Twitter, and thank you very much.